So we have
Thank
a lot
you.
of faculty from JBS as well as from engineering who've joined in to listen to you. So just I think
All right, it's going to be an interesting experience to be interacting online. So.
We could make it quickly. So I think COVID-19 helped us at least in this. Oh, you've changed.
So you're looking for me, where am I? How amongst all these people?
I thought you said Renu puri ho gayi hai. But you've got a beard. Okay. Seeing you off face.
No, this is a COVID-19 effect.
Okay.
This is my new Corona impact avatar.
I know. A lot of things. It's not just jhadu pocha that it's our hair, our nails, and everything is taken its toll. Yes. So Shriram, are we ready?
Yes, ma'am. I believe we can start. So I'll very quickly read out a bio for Dr. Bharat Bhaskar. Good afternoon and welcome to all to the second webinar hosted by JBS. I, Dr. Shriram Purankar, would like to take this opportunity to introduce our audience to Dr. Bharat Bhaskar. Professor Bharat Bhaskar is the current director of IIM Raipur. Before joining IIM Raipur, he was associated with IIM Lucknow for over 2 decades, having served in various capacities, including being the acting director of IIM Lucknow in 2015. His areas of expertise include data management, network security, and software engineering. An authority in the area of digital economy, he has published multiple papers in international academic journals of high repute and has authored several books. Dr. Bhaskar's book, Electronic Commerce, Framework, Technologies and Applications, published by McGraw-Hill, has globally acclaimed following and is in its 4th edition. Dr. Bhaskar was awarded the prestigious Best Director Business School Award at Decision Science Institute, USA in December 2018. He has almost 3 decades of international experience in industry, research institutions, teaching management, development, and consulting. It is noteworthy that Dr. Bhaskar has spent 11 years working in leading research establishments in USA, including 7 years at the prestigious Goddard Space Flight Center of NASA, Maryland. So this was about Dr. Bharat Bhaskar. Today's topic of the webinar is maintaining quality in teaching learning practices when imparting online education. Welcome, sir. We would now like to hear from you, sir.
All right. Let me welcome you all on this platform for being here and bearing it out while we all bear out the COVID-19 syndrome and continue to go with it. What I wanted to find out before I get started is that how much time should I be interacting here?
Sir, we have roughly about 35 minutes left in the Zoom call. After which, since this is a free version, we may get disconnected, sir.
Okay, so you have about 30-35 minutes. All right. So we'll go with that kind of a thing.
Right, sir.
Now, what we can do is, or what we can talk about is that we all know the online education was already making big impact. It's not that something it has come as a surprise. Digital economy was already happening. You see, post whatever demonetization phase which was going on, the infrastructure was getting prepared. Over a period of time, a lot of shift to digital economy has taken place. Even many places you have seen, prior to even COVID-19 coming in, they have converted their programs into online educational programs because of a variety of reasons. Even when COVID didn't happen, you might have noticed most of even IIMs, I'm not going to talk what has happened outside, and maybe I'll pick few examples here and there from them. But even IIMs have begun to offer variety of not only executive education programs, but more importantly, even the diploma and certification programs in general management. I don't know how many of you noticed that one of the leading IIMs of this country has a 2-year full-time MBA program running on another platform, not the Zoom, but another platform. It's a kind of a synchronous model of the education, and we'll talk about synchronous versus asynchronous, asynchronous, whatever is happening in that field, and they're offering already that. And this was already second batch is in running. So they have already begun to shift. So online education was already taking root because variety of students or many senior students would like to get a high quality education, but are not in position to come full time and compete with the same set of students, although they may be very competent, but they don't have the wherewithals or financial capabilities or the commitments of life, etc., and so on, held them back. Globally, because of the student registration issues, actually there was a big news, and I think one of our online asynchronous education provider, Coursera, which is a big platform provider all over the world, has begun to offer. University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign shut down their MBA program on a on-campus basis. They launched even last year the whole program in online mode through Coursera, which is an asynchronous program. And interesting thing is that it was very difficult for them to get 120 quality students while they were running a full-time on-campus program. Today, they have few thousand students registered in that program. So even financially, economically, it began to make much sense for them to get a great deal of students in their case. That's what I'm saying. There could be a variety of reasons for which people have shifted. Now the issue is, then what can we do? How can we shift and transfer our knowledge imparting capability or interaction capability or grooming capability from an offline environment to an online environment? Now, if you look at this Zoom itself, right, it has all the features of actually a classroom. More or less, I think 24 or 5 participants are already here, and I can more or less interact with each of you on an individual basis. Right? It has that capability. You may not feel that much of a difference in certain kind of educations, but we have to learn a different kind of etiquettes, different kind of a delivery mechanism, that how do I keep all those people engaged? Because people have option to turn off their videos, sometimes because of the bandwidth capability reasons or variety of other reasons. So keeping them engaged in an online classroom is going to be one of the biggest challenges. The education has to be far more exciting and motivating. If you're talking synchronous, where we are all together live, and then there's an asynchronous model where they will come at their will, and if it's really not so exciting, they may skip forward and pick things which they wanted to pick. Right? So those are the challenges which we face this in kind of environment. So certain etiquettes I'll talk about, and then more or less I'll focus on only one thing because there's not too much of a time. So I'll focus on how can we do cases online in this kind of environment effectively. Because as a management education, the biggest challenge for us is, one can say, as far as lecture is concerned, you are delivering, I could have shared on the panel or the same panel my lecture PPT slides, they'll be displayed on a screen. So rather than watching on a screen, you are watching it here. You can attach a pad next to your screen, and I can even write my notes occasionally with PPT mode of teaching. You very rarely write notes on the side or use a blackboard, but if you wanted to do it, you can do that as well. So it's impact is there, of course, not being in the same place impact, not teachers, not inability to sense your real mood, whether you are really nodding, you are really excited, because half the time teacher gets a feedback and energy from the students themselves. My class is actually sulking. I need to understand there's something going wrong either in my delivery, or I'm not able to generate enough excitement, or they're not able to understand my material seems to be going slightly above their heads. Maybe I need to bring it down, connect it back with them, etc. and so on. So you watch the faces of people to generate that excitement in you or adjust your educational imparting model. Similarly, in the class also, you have noticed that excitement and enthusiasm of teacher is equally important. If you are a sulking teacher, you don't expect your student to be very excited even in a normal classroom. But yet, if you are imparting a good knowledge, even with that dullness, they can still be appreciating what you are imparting. Online, this becomes a very important issue. Even you may have to maintain a fake enthusiasm. You have to come out enthusiastic to them because they are in a completely impersonal environment. They are not understanding your body or they are not seeing your body vibes. Right? Many a time, people have a very monotone delivery in the classroom, but content is so good that after hearing for a few minutes, maybe initially they don't seem exciting for a few minutes or maybe 5-10 minutes, but then a student realizes that what he's talking about is making sense. But it's here, those 5-10 minutes are important. You have turned them off and they're not feeling excited, they may move on. If it's an asynchronous education like a Coursera, edX, and all these MOOC platform types, if you don't sound exciting in 10 minutes, they'll begin to skip the content. And maybe there's a good content there, but you will not be able to carry them forward along with you. So it's important for you to have that. You may call it excitement, natural excitement, or you have to transform your personality as a teacher that you have to come out as a exciting teacher, or you may call it I have to put up a fake excitement on the internet environment. So it's important to do that because other side will not be able to understand. Second, when you're going for an online teaching, in a classroom, you don't go and normally good teachers do that in the very first class. When they interact, they try talking about certain degree of discipline, certain degree of norms, etc. need to be followed. Many people don't do that explicitly. They'll talk about few things and rest by interacting in the class. Whenever they see a not so normal behavior or not so acceptable behavior, they'll put it down or encourage it depending on good or badness of the behavior. And you can tune the class as you go on. In this case, the class may become chaotic, especially if you have undergraduate class. If it's a graduate class, also have full-timers, meaning that those who are not from a heavy industry experience, who believe that I have to get worth of my money in the classroom, so they come with a, a student-like mindset. You have to set the norms because otherwise it becomes very difficult to control the class. So the norms are very simple thing. I don't know how many of you have taught online. We have been teaching online for a few years. Here at Raipur also we do lots of online teaching programs. For example, we are also running a general management program, which is a certificate program, not a degree or diploma program, through another partner, and so on. So we do those class imparting so first and foremost thing, you have to set the norms. And the norms are how students will participate. Because if you don't allow them to participate, first and foremost, you lose them. They have a doubt in mind and you are not answering it. Second part is that they may be excited and you are entertaining everybody's doubt immediately. Your class will not progress. Right? Many a time, I don't want to get into that. Occasionally, they will plan out the activity and not allow you to progress. Right? The students are students after all. So you have to have a class discipline. So first class, you need to enforce that. And all these platforms, even the Zoom platform or a WebEx platform or a variety of other platforms, technology platforms have this mechanism. For example, I have put your screen right now in a chat mode, participant mode, although chat is disabled right now in your Zoom by the host. So none of you can chat. But I would have, in a classroom, enabled both of those. When you see your participant mode in front of your own name, you would see two things being shown up. Right? These are very basic etiquettes, but you need to explain to students on first day. All of you have to put your mics on mute mode because your class will have lots of clutter. We are being very nice to each other. None of you are speaking or there is no background noise coming in. But in a student kind of environment, all kind of chatter will begin to come into the whole platform. So all of them will be, and normally most platforms allow faculty even to put them all in mute mode, number one. Number two, you need to put, you have a hand in front next to your name in most of those scenarios when it's running in a class participant mode or a classroom mode. You can set a discipline that anybody who has an urgent question and would like to ask question, don't open your mic and start speaking. Click on your hand, which is like raising a hand in classroom. Right? And most of time, many people do that in classroom, that raise the hand, just don't start speaking. Many a time we don't do, we look at eye contact and say, okay, now you seem to be worried about asking something to me, etc. and so on. So first and foremost, that discipline has to be set. Second, to keep them actually engaged in the process, use the chat effectively. Let them write in the chat. I'll come to that in case method, how it can be used for evaluation purposes as well. Chat, when you are doing a lecture mode, whenever a doubt comes, encourage, let them write chat in the chat mode, and your eye should also be one of the eye should keep scanning as the chat questions are keep coming in. Don't answer every question. Okay, because then you will only be deterred from or distracted from your class. Instead, pick up a question which seems exciting in the sense that yes, it will clarify certain things, or the same question is coming from few of them. That means I'm losing the class. There's some concept which I'm assuming they understand, but maybe they don't have a basic understanding of that concept. So pick that, and more effectively, it'll be good if you can personalize it. Because unlike the regular class, where in the large class, many a time we have name tags, but we are unable to read the names quickly enough. Here, you know the name and the query coming. And you can so and so has a following doubt, or you seem to be asking a good question. At least you've got that person's attention or those person's attention. Others also will know that I will be mentioned, meaning that our chat is being read. Some questions are being answered and their doubts will get cleared. So one, in a lecture mode, it helps you in getting you to move forward without losing them. In case that's your whole case discussion is going to happen. And you can pick what is the right discussion which is going to happen. You will open mics only in a limited way, and chat will continue in a continuous fashion, right? So that is the certain class disciplines which we need to set up. Rest, even in a regular class, for example, when we run a course on data analytics online as a executive education program, we have set up a separate forum. Because in the classroom in data analytics, many things will clarify, but there'll be still, when they do the problem, there'll be all kind of issues they'll run into. So run a separate forum. Most of these platforms, whether it's Moodle, whether it's Zoom, whether it's a WebEx, all have the separate parallel forum capability. Create your classroom forum where they will post their problem, and you should also interact in that forum with the students. Not all the time answering every question, but unlike a regular classroom where only 1 hour is good enough, or for I give you 1 hour, you can meet me or not meet me, etc. and so on, you need to be more proactive with these students. It requires a bit more engagement, or a lot, I say, your online presence also for those students. Answer some of those important questions. Most of time, what you want to generate is a collegial environment where these people will solve each other's problem. That is the real life. They don't go to some guru or a teacher that you solve my problem. Most of problems are solved in a company also, amongst discussion amongst the colleagues. So that team spirit will also begin to develop. And most of time, initially you may have to participate a little higher. Otherwise, only for those tougher questions or which require where they've gotten whatever in an argument, because it may not be a mathematical subject where there's only one answer. There could be other kind of subject which you are teaching where multiple thoughts may emerge, and you might like to summarize and merge those thoughts, etc. and so on in an offline environment. The students will feel they're getting same quality or even better interaction in a online environment compared to offline environment. Yes, it will require more time commitment on your side, but then second time, many of these discussion forum and things are available. So it's like first time you teach a course in an offline environment, you have to do a lot more work. Second time around, you already have lots of things prepared, assignments, quizzes, etc., and so on. So as I said, engage them through chat, number one. Also, number two, engage them through variety of other means. What are those other means? Other means, good part is that they have opinion, poll and quizzes built into all these platforms, right? I can say these are the, whatever, these are a certain point or certain thing I'm discussing, and I can quickly say, okay, now these two thoughts have come amongst us, let's take a quick poll. And you immediately create a poll and they will vote from their own machines, and you can see what is the result, and you can explain why so many people feel this way, what is the plus and minus impact or whatever, pros and cons of this versus pros and cons of that. If some option is really wrong, then you can explain why it should not have been done, etc. and so on. So you are actually getting into the mind of the classroom or a class in participating there. Quizzes, hold them for both purposes. One, for an evaluative purpose if you wanted to hold. Second, for keeping the excitement going. Keeping the excitement because you have to keep the class away. So you put a quiz quickly and immediately you also reveal the answer, and they themselves will immediately get the feedback, which you can't do in a real life, right? So there are certain advantages, leverage on those advantages, and you will be much better off in that kind of an environment doing those kind of things. So as I said, there are multiple such features available: opinion poll, quizzes, interaction. You can do the opinion analysis, meaning that you can put 3 or 4 opinions, let them write quickly the comments on each opinion. Not only poll that yes, no, they can win, and then you can say what kind of opinion cross sections are coming, etc. and so on. And these all tools are very useful in the case teaching mechanism. So as I said, employ tools and do these nudges. Gamification is another technique, right? And we all know how you can create a nice game, role plays, etc. And in the same in this environment, whether it's a lecture mode, discussion mode, you can do. But in a case mode, they are far more required, etc. and so on. Now, in the interest of time, next 10 minutes, I'm going to focus on only what happens when you do a case. I've talked about what kind of environment, and there's more to talk about. There are many other tools and techniques which are available. When initially when you don't deploy them, class becomes a bit boring as if impersonal. When you begin to deploy them, class becomes more interactive and as lively for both sides, because initially it feels like in room I'm speaking only to a screen. But when you make it exciting, lots of questions coming in from that side to the chat, etc., then I get picked up from the chat your queries and begin to answer, and two-way dialogue begins to happen as if I'm in a real classroom. For a moment, you just have to forget class is right in front of me, or there are 25 people actually on the screen. Out of that, at least 15 of the, so I can see the photographs of them. So I can really interact with them in person as well. Now, when you're doing case, even in a physical environment, there are 3 options, 3 things which you worried about a case. First was the foundation of the case. We have to prepare the foundation of the case. Second was how the class flow will happen when you are preparing for a normal case in a case room. And third is how am I going to evaluate that case, participation, etc. and so on. Those are the 3 aspects. Here also the same 3 aspects are there, except the foundation aspect becomes slightly different. Because their foundation means to give them to read, you give them related material to read, and you maybe pose few questions. So ensure that they've read and gone through the data, etc. so on. And they will submit at the beginning of the class, or you'll ask them to submit it online, etc. to ensure they come back in the classroom well read about the class. Right? That is the normal model. Here, foundation requires a lot more than this. 2 things happen. One, Normally in a classroom flow, you can do cold calling. Can you do a cold calling here in a normal environment? I don't know how much cold calling will work. You don't know the excitement of the other side. Expecting them to be reading, even in a regular class, you have various ways of reacting, right? You ensure, you throw them out, or you ask them that today's class is getting whatever deferred, will not be teaching you till you come back and read and answer these questions, etc. and so on. None of them will work in an online environment. You can shut down the class, they are happy to go. So how do I make that foundation part? First and foremost involves what kind of cases should I be picking. All kind of cases will not work in an online environment that effectively, because you expect them to be reading in a limited fashion. That means in the foundation itself, when not only you give them a case, you should do your own hard work and create some data table, charts, etc. and so on, which are aid to that case, which is where you wanted to focus, and give them and ask questions related to those. At least reading that data table when they're going to answer that question or that chart or that table, etc., whatever is that you've given, they will go back and connect and read related paragraphs. Some of them will always read, but at least these people will read in answering that question. So to create that kind of an environment that they do end up reading and come back better prepared in a case. Now, every case is not ready with that data. Right? There are cases where only there's a talk and interaction. You have to do even a more exciting work or more extra work. How to create it exciting? You have to extract those dialogues, important dialogues, put them in form. So preparing a foundation for an online case is a slightly different task, because we are trying to use the offline case written for an offline environment into an online environment. And we are in a transition period. Now, fortunately, many cases, if you see in a past year or two, multimedia cases have become popular. Video cases have begun to come in. They were always around, few people wrote in, few of them were there. Easiest case to do is, and which I used to do even in offline mode, is a 30-minute videos. The whole story, which is written in 20-25 minutes, they're nicely shot videos which are about 25 to 30 minutes. In 1.5 hour class, show them 20-25 minutes video. Let them jot down the question, pose the questions, let them enumerate, think about it for about 5 to 10 minutes, because they've just watched your questions. They will reverberate in mind. All the data is in front of them. And then at end of about 40 minutes, you can start the class discussion. Now, if there are plenty of such cases, they are fully arrived in an online environment. But that will take time, because many good cases have been written in an offline environment. Suddenly you can't say that so much same amount of educational material will get shifted from offline to online environment. Right? So ideal scenario and ideal cases, that kind of an environment. Now selecting a case becomes an exciting mechanism. If it's a multimedia case, video, great. Are many cases which have a textual as well as part of it already what we call annotated in a various forms. So pick such cases for online teaching. We may have to abandon my case which I've been doing and I'm very comfortable in, and I know it really elicits the concept I wanted to elicit so well, but today we have to shift towards it. Second is pick a case, because it's an online world. So your students which are participating in these platforms are also recent in nature. Pick the case which resonates with them.
दूसरा ये फिर अब मेरे को फॉर्म भर देना जैसे मैं पहले भरती थी.
Pardon? Hello? If the case which resonates with them meaning that if I have to pick a case, and if I pick a case related to Uber, which an Uber case will have, it's a normal corporation, will have all kind of situations. There's a strategy around it. there's a finance around it, there's a marketing related issues around it. Pick a case piece which people are familiar with. So Uber, Flipkart, Amazon, and there are cases about them available. So pick a case, even those who have not read, at least have an overall understanding how Flipkart, Amazon, etc. work. They may not understand the interpersonal managerial issues which are happening inside, but they do understand the overall organizational structure, not the organizational structure, the overall organizational functioning. That how the retail must be happening, there must be a supply chain issue, there may be a warehouse, and when you talk about the issues which are happening at the HR front, but we do know the HR, what can happen in a warehouse. Right? So they can correlate in certain ways. So one is pick the cases which are that kind. If I'm doing a supply process, business process restructuring case, right? I used to use a case which is a very old case, 2005 case. And especially if I know, so it's also important to understand the audience in your class. Most of audience will be IT returnees, meaning that who have done outsourcing, now they want to do MBA. They're sick and tired of Infosys and TCS. That is what most of the management classes used to be. I will pick a case related to CVS Pharmacy, because in US they have all walked into a CVS Pharmacy, which is a general retail plus major pharmacy. And TCS has implemented their whole business process, online processing. Right? So it reverberates and resonates because there are a whole bunch of TCS, ex-TCS sitting in the class. Even in a classroom, you'll find one or two may have already worked on as a support staff, etc., to that CVS Pharmacy business processing software. And most of them will understand how the US retail market systems are. Right? Now, if you pick a case of that nature, you'll bring out all the retail's processing issues, etc. and so on. Now, good part with the CVS processing cases, there are CVS videos as well as CVS management videos available. So, case is a textual case, but other things, they come and talk about what happened, what they felt, etc., and so on. So, it becomes a multimedia case, although not written as a multimedia, by extracting those interviews from a variety of places and converting into a multimedia case. Second, the case obviously should be recent. One is the familiar, other is the recency. Because everybody is excited immediately when you pick a case which is happening today. Right? If somebody says the case today we want to discuss on a big basket. Now, big basket is a big thing today, and their issues of in this COVID kind of a scenario, their delivery issues, their safety and security issues, etc., become important issues. So that creates excitement in the students to know more about it. Also, the case should have a novelty in it. Right? In general, we do it in offline environment also. If the case has some novelness in it, people feel more excited. Now, one of the very interesting case I used to use in my IT denial of service attack called iPremier. Right? It's a Harvard case. It's a denial of service attack cyber security case. Now, recently, somebody has illustrated in a cartoon format. So they made a whole cartoon strip out of the iPremier case. Now, other than using the text case, you hand over that cartoon strip to them. Wonderful. Everybody feels excited reading that. Also, you don't have to read pages and pages of a dry text. The message is communicated. That's what you wanted to do. We want to put the people in that organization set up or that scenario set up. If this new mechanism of communication can do it, video communication can do it. If the video is not available, at least this cartoonization of the case can do it. The wonderful means of making them excited or making them read the case is an important issue. Of course, rest is same. Well-written cases should be there. And please do use the case. And we say these, some of them are common. It's not that in all online and offline things are going to differ. But in offline, many things will work because you can make them work in the classroom. Here, you don't have that option. So make sure your case has the tension or a conflict explicitly built into it. Many a time, many a cases in offline that we elicit in the classroom where it was coming from. In this kind of environment, you need to bring it in the case. in many of these cases. I use a wonderful case called Mednet. Mednet is a case about sales and marketing, of course, related to IT, where this it's a online, it's a website where suddenly the advertiser decide, why do I want to advertise on a Mednet environment? Their cost is very high per click per rate, versus why shouldn't I do it in the Google or etc., where it's much cheaper. For 10 cents you can get millions of whatever impressions done. Now Mednet has to justify, so there's big tension. The major advertising for the pharmaceutical company is, and they want to go away from them. Right? If that tension builds up, people are excited, how will they be able to survive in a business? And the case illustrates how they will build the whole answer sheet, that why they are more effective than Google advertising, Amazon advertising, etc., which is much cheaper, but we are expensive, but we will deliver more output to you. So the moment that you start with the tension or a conflict scenario that this is the challenge of a company, people have a throughout excitement build till they find answer to that. That will Mednet survive or not survive? If survives, then why will it survive? Right? So it's important to build that kind of a conflict in an environment. So these are the types of cases. Yeah.
Sir, I'd like to just interrupt you. I'm so sorry, but there is less than a minute left, sir.
All right. So since chat is disabled, I can't get your queries. So these are the some things we can talk about, and then we can talk about delivery, etc. That during delivery, what I talked about various tools and techniques, etc., which will be used and how you could have used while doing the discussion. Although I talked about in a general sense, and it's the same thing. So you can extrapolate on your own how you'll use for a discussion. You don't want everybody to be opening up mic, etc., while the discussion. So I talked about the flow part, how you should control, and that's why I gave you the tools in advance. So use those tools in it, which I talked to you in advance. Use the chat. And the last thing I will quickly talk about, this chat itself is used for the evaluation purpose. The nice analytical tool available, that what points they really brought.